让雨落有着呢。
Hey Freedom Fighters, how's it going? This is Kala here at Students for a Free Tibet International Headquarters, bringing you SFTtv. SFTtv is your source for news, information, and updates from SFTHQ right here in New York City. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2008. Let's get straight to the news. This is from The Guardian, UK. Delhi shut down amid tight security for torch relay. Thousands of Indian police shut down the country's capital today, emptying streets of crowds and protesters as the Olympic torch was carried a short distance in a ceremony drained of pomp and celebration. In a largely successful attempt to snuff out protests by members of the world's largest Tibetan community, Indian paramilitaries and police swooped down on any sizable gatherings near the torchbearers in Delhi as they ran from the presidential palace to the historic India Gate monument. Left watching the torchbearers were flag-waving Chinese officials and a few dozen school children bussed in for the event. Sponsors complained that staff had been given passes for the torch ceremony, but were not allowed to attend by overzealous security guards. Some protesters did manage to break the security cordon. One group burned Chinese flags while another unfurled banners. However, most were met with disproportionate force. One Tibetan was wrestled to the ground on Indian television by 12 police officers. More than 200 protesters were arrested, say activists. So in Pakistan, where the torch was also supposed to be ran through, they decided to take a different approach and do the first ever Olympic torch lap in a stadium in India. All of 20 people saw the torch being ran through its extremely short course. And you know what, Beijing Organizing Committee, your journey of harmony is working. This has been one of the most harmonious torch relays in the history of Olympic torch relays. As we can see from Paris, London, San Francisco, Argentina, Delhi, India, protesters will be coming out in full force and ensuring that your use of the Olympic flame as a political tool will have the spotlight shifted on what's going on inside Tibet. You might try to pull the wool over the world's eyes, but we see right through it. Good luck on the rest of your journey of harmony, and let's get to another story regarding the torch relay. This is from the New York Times business section. Coca-Cola faces critics of its Olympic support. It's getting tougher to be a global brand these days, just ask Coke. As one of the most prominent sponsors of the Olympics, Coca-Cola found itself in the hot seat on Wednesday at its annual shareholder meeting in Wilmington, Delaware. Outside, protesters chanted and waved picket signs. Inside, they engaged the chief executive officer, E. Neville Isdell, in a rare public dialogue about China's human rights record in Tibet. This is a quote from Lobsangla, who was on SFTtv yesterday. Will you tell the IOC to stop taking the Olympic torch relay into Tibet because Tibetan belong to Tibet? Asked one protester in the audience, Lobsang Chimphel, who described himself as a native Tibetan. He was referring to the International Olympic Committee. And this one is from our executive director, Laden Thatong. We are not asking Coke to solve Tibet's problems. said Ledin Thatong, executive director of an organizing group called Students for a Free Tibet, told Mr. Isdell at the shareholder meeting on Wednesday. We're not asking you to do anything else, but tell the IOC this is not the time for the torch to go through Tibet. Ms. Thatong added, you have influence and you know you have influence. Please don't hide behind the spin. Definitely keep up with what's going on regarding this Coke campaign as the situation goes on. You can go to studentsforafreetibet.org. Once again, that's studentsforafreetibet.org/Coke. Since March 10th of this year, when Tibetans non-violently rose up in the streets of Lhasa, in Amdo and in Kham, we have noticed this phenomenon where the Chinese government is drumming up this fever-pitched sense of nationalism by overseas Chinese here in the States and outside of China. Students for a Free Tibet has always been about justice, whether that is for the Tibetan people or the Chinese people. This is an extremely disgusting tactic that the Chinese government is using. By making this an issue of ethnic strife, it dilutes the true source and the true root of what has gone on in Tibet. It is that Tibet is an occupied territory. The Tibetan people have called out for independence, have called out for His Holiness Dalai Lama to return, have called out for basic human rights to be had in Tibet, and courageous Tibetan women, men, children, lay people, monks, nuns have risen up non-violently, have put their lives on the line, and on the outside we are seeing a backlash by nationalistic Chinese that are living here in the West in schools and communities from UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, University of Ottawa, University of Massachusetts, Bard College. Many of you might have already been attacked or yelled at, had a counter protest. And the one thing that we want to say is that we have the truth, we know the truth, we are, don't respond in kind. This is responding by yelling, by screaming is below your dignity. It is below this movement's dignity. We will not respond with the same kind of venom that our adversaries respond with. And we have to understand that this is not Chinese versus Tibetans or Chinese versus Tibet supporters. We have always had an issue with the Chinese government, and there are young Chinese that are standing up, that are trying their best to be a bridge of communication between Tibetans and Chinese here in the West. On April 9th in San Francisco, when the Olympic torch was met by thousands of protesters, there was a small protest going on in Durham, North Carolina at Duke University, and basically it almost turned into a scuffle, if not for one young Chinese woman who tried to be this bridge of dialogue between both Chinese and Tibetans and Tibet supporters. A day after she tried her best to mediate, she was met by with threats to her life, to her family's life. On online forums, she has been called a traitor. This is disgusting. There's no other word for it. This is disgusting. This reminds me of how queer people are constantly silenced, how we are constantly taunted, threatened with death for just calling for our own rights, for just wanting to be treated as human beings. When those who are so insecure about a situation or know that they don't have the truth lash out in this way, you know that you're winning. You know that it's only a matter of time before they concede, because this is a desperate tactic by a desperate government. So in the future, when, if and when this happens, do not do not respond. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on being the dignified freedom fighters that you are. And if there are any other incidents, please make sure to give us a call here at the office at 212-358-0071. Their venom, their hatred is below us. Make sure it stays that way. Alrighty, well, tune in tomorrow for a segment with an interview with Nobel Prize winning laureate Rabia Kadir and the face of the people of East Turkestan here in the West. Thank you for watching. Peace and Momo Grease.
No, we gon' get Olympic, something chick, look chick, ranse rewa chick, ichi chick, nanzo nyamdo zomp, nyamdo lega che, yapa magic ale gap, ranse rewa gap, pemi relap, keches gap, yeah, nanzo, pemi, samlo yapo tang, ichi yapo che, kale mapo gap, mila ranse kor lap, ranse kor shit, tupo neti dum shit, ropa togo dum shit, nisi songa dawe dum shit, tapo